The drama begins with the female lead, Dong-hae. She is sitting in a police station with some students. Just then, the parents of the other students arrive and take their children with them. Finally, a teacher also arrives there. The teacher, being angry at Dong-hae, says, "How dare you come here? Because of you, this matter could even reach the vice principal." But immediately after that, the teacher starts talking to another student sitting in front of him. Here, he speaks to that child very affectionately. Actually, most of the students sitting there belong to rich families. Therefore, the teacher favors them more. Meanwhile, outside the police station, Youngjin is talking to her mother. Here, Youngjin's mother says to her daughter in anger, "Even if you trouble someone, at least learn to handle your problems yourself." Actually, all these rich students have been bullying Dong-hae for many days. For this reason, Dong-hae had called them all to the police station. But the very next day, Youngjin and her companions go a step further and start bullying Dong-hae again. Here, Youngjin says to Dong-hae, "What do you think? Will you hand us over to the police that easily?" Then she says one more thing. "Today, I am going to show you what the burn of hot iron feels like." Saying this, they all together grab Dong-hae's hand. Just then, Youngjin creates burning wounds on her hands with her hair straightener. Dong-hae, writhing in pain, asks her, "Why are you doing this to me after all?" To this, Youngjin replies in a cold voice, "Because you are a loser, and this is exactly what should happen to people like you." The very next moment, Dong-hae reaches the infirmary with her injured hands, where a nurse is already present. The nurse immediately rolls up Dong-hae's sleeve. As soon as her gaze falls on her hand, on the old and deep burn marks, she freezes completely for a moment. She asks in surprise, "How did these terrible burn marks get here? Who did this to you?" But Dong-hae is so terrified that not a single word comes out of her mouth. She just lowers her gaze in silence, as if the courage to tell the truth has completely vanished. Suddenly, a girl comes out from behind the curtain and pulls the curtain back loudly. She says straight away without any fear, "Yes, I have done all this, and whenever she was injured before, I was behind that too." That same night, Youngjin enters Dong-hae's room, secretly with her gang. As soon as they enter the room, first they pick up Dong-hae's piggy bank and break it. All the coins inside scatter on the floor. Their behavior looked as if they were making fun of Dong-hae's poverty and showing the arrogance of their wealth. Just then, Youngjin's gaze fixes on Dong-hae. She smiles, looking at her thin and white legs, and then her gaze stops at the hot iron lying on the floor. Right from there, another devilish thought is born in her mind. The next moment becomes another terrifying memory for Dong-hae, because Youngjin and her gang start torturing her again with the hot iron. While enduring constant torture and insult, finally Dong-hae breaks down completely from within, and out of compulsion, she decides to leave the school. When her leave application reaches the homeroom teacher, the teacher's face changes upon seeing the reason written in it, because only 2 words are written in the application: school violence. The teacher immediately gets into tension. He starts feeling afraid. If this matter gets out, then both my job and reputation could be at risk. Just then, Dong-hae asks a question in a low but steady voice. "Sir, if someone did this to your own son, then how would you feel?" For a few moments, complete silence spreads in the room. Upon hearing Dong-hae's words, the teacher's anger suddenly flares up. He immediately takes off the watch from his wrist and shouts in anger, "What did you just say about my son?" And the very next moment, without thinking, he slaps Dong-hae hard. The teacher's anger does not stop here. He shouts while hitting her repeatedly, "What you just said? Say it again." The other teachers come in between and try to stop him, but at that time he is in no mood to listen to anyone. After venting his anger for a long time, when his temper cools down a bit, only then does he stop. After some time, Youngjin's mother comes to meet Dong-hae's mother. To save her daughter's image, she says straight away, "Just change the reason written in the application, then this matter will end right here." Saying this, she places a thick packet full of money in front of Dong-hae's mother. Seeing such a large amount, Dong-hae's mother immediately says yes without thinking much. When Dong-hae reaches back to her small rented room, everything there has changed. The room is lying completely empty. The landlord tells her, "Your mother has already left the room and gone." At this time, Dong-hae finds out the reason for my leave application has also been changed. Seeing this, Dong-hae's last bit of trust in her mother also breaks. Dong-hae, completely broken from the heart, goes to the riverbank sadly. She keeps looking at the cold water silently for a while. For a moment, it comes to her mind, perhaps it would be better to end everything right here. But when the cold wind and light drops of water touch her face, slowly her mind starts becoming calm. Then Dong-hae thinks to herself, "When I am not even afraid of death, then what is there in the world that I should be afraid of?" The next day, Dong-hae arrives alone at the school gymnasium. There, Youngjin and her gang have already found a new victim for bullying. Dong-hae slowly goes to them and starts mentioning all their dreams in a calm voice. She looks at Sarah and says, "You want to become a painter, right?" Then she turns to Jae-jun and says, "And you are going to handle your family's golf course." After that, she looks at Hye-jung and says, "Your dream is to become a flight attendant." Then Dong-hae looks directly at Young-jin and asks, "And you? What is your dream?" "To become a perfect wife and a good mother." Hearing this, the entire gang starts laughing loudly. Their laughter is filled only with mockery and meanness. Young-jin, making fun of her, asks Dong-hae, "Okay, tell me, what is your dream?" "Tell me what?" Dong-hae looks straight into her eyes and says in a completely calm voice, "Now my dream is you, Young-jin. From today, my dream is to become like you." Then she says with a slight smile, "We will surely meet again." But Dong-hae's smile is so cold and strange that everyone in the bully gang falls silent for a moment. They feel as if the girl standing in front of them is not the same Dong-hae, whom they had been torturing for years. After that day, Dong-hae's life changes completely. All day long, she works in a factory lifting heavy bricks, and at night, she keeps studying by herself under the dim light in the dormitory hallway. She has neither a proper desk nor any facility. Still, she keeps sitting silently with a book. A girl working in the factory watches her dedication every day. She feels afraid. My walking sound might disturb Dong-hae's studies. Therefore, whenever she returned to the dormitory, she would hold her shoes in her hands so that there wouldn't be even a little noise. Finally, Dong-hae's so much hard work pays off. She passes the university entrance exam. And, to fulfill her next goal, she goes to a new place. On the other side, a secret relationship was going on between Young-jin and Jae-jun, which they wanted to keep hidden from the world. Jae-jun thought, perhaps one day we both will be together forever. But one day, everything changes. Young-jin suddenly marries a rich businessman, Do-young. In the wedding hall, when Jae-jun sees her so happy in a wedding dress, his anger and jealousy start going out of control. And at that same time, another unexpected guest arrives there, Dong-hae. She goes to Young-jin with a completely calm face and says, "Happy wedding. I hope you stay happy forever." But there was something in Dong-hae's eyes, which was saying, this story is not going to end right here. Because the real story of life does not end just at a wedding. And then, slowly, 10 years pass by. All members of the bullying gang have reached their school-time dreams. Sarah has now become a famous painter. Jae-jun has inherited his family's golf course and is now living the life of a rich businessman. Hye-jung has become a flight attendant, and she keeps looking for a chance to marry into some rich family and rise further. Young-jin has now become a weather editor. But the irony is, I don't even know how to write a script properly. Still, she never lags behind in belittling new employees in the office. And the boy who was expelled from school, he still stays with Jae-jun, but his life has become quite miserable. On the other hand, Dong-hae's life was also not easy at all. To earn her livelihood and to keep her revenge plan alive. Along with her university studies, she also gives tuitions at various places. One day, she goes to a male student's house to teach him, but that boy says with an impolite smile, "If you show me your body, then I will get the top score in the exam." Then he says with a laugh, "Anyway, if my ranking improves, then you will get the money." Even after hearing such a disgusting thing, Dong-hae's face remains completely calm because the pain and humiliation she had already endured. In front of that, all this seems very small. Dong-hae calmly takes out her phone and says, "Does your mom know I have recorded everything said so far?" Then she says straight away, "If you want, you can end this matter right here by giving me money." The boy immediately says in a panic, "You want to become a teacher? You can't do this." Dong-hae replies in a cold and direct tone, "Really? If I couldn't become a teacher, then good luck for your exam." Saying this, Dong-hae leaves from there without looking back. But while returning home, suddenly Dong-hae's health deteriorates, and she faints and falls on the road. When her eyes open again, she finds herself on a hospital bed. In the same ward, another patient is admitted, the director's son, Yeo-jong. When their gazes meet each other, Yeo-jong immediately starts taking an interest in Dong-hae. And perhaps from here, a new chapter was about to begin in Dong-hae's life. After a little while, when Yeo-jong helps her in removing the IV needle, then suddenly his gaze falls on the old burn marks on Dong-hae's hand. Seeing this, Dong-hae panics instantly. She quickly pulls her sleeve down, picks up her bag, and leaves the hospital without saying anything. After some time, the doctor returns with her health certificate, but by then, Dong-hae has already left from there. Out of curiosity, Yeo-jong picks up the certificate and looks at it. Then he finds out Dong-hae is suffering from severe anemia. He thinks she needs proper treatment and a checkup. For this reason, with the help of the address written on the certificate, Yeo-jong reaches her college. There, from a distance, he sees Dong-hae coming towards him with a smile. For a moment, Yeo-jong feels, perhaps Dong-hae is coming to meet me. He immediately moves towards her in happiness. But the very next moment, Dong-hae passes by him and greets a male student by calling him senior, and starts talking to him. Both keep talking while laughing. Then, Yeo-jong realizes, that was just my own illusion. Feeling a bit disappointed, he quietly returns from there. On the other side, Youngjin's married life was looking perfectly fine from the outside. She was living a luxurious life with her rich husband, Do-young, and they also had a lovely daughter, Yesol. One day while talking casually, Do-young says to Youngjin, "By the way, Hyejung is telling many stories to people about your high school days lately." Hearing this, the color fades from Youngjin's face. She immediately asks in a panic, "Did she tell something about me too?" Suddenly, those same old bullying talks start spinning in her mind. But Do-young says while remaining calm, "No, she was just telling about your achievements." Hearing this, Youngjin breathes a sigh of relief. Still, instead of taking a risk, she immediately calls Sarah and Hyejung to meet. On the other hand, Hyejung's life was not as glamorous as she tried to show. Her parents used to run a small laundry shop, and the whole family earned their livelihood from there. Hyejung also had a strange habit. Whenever a customer gave an expensive dress or coat for washing, she would secretly try it on and see. This time also she had come wearing an expensive dress, which clearly was not even fitting her properly. Sarah, seeing her, says, being a bit irritated, "Be a little sensible. If Dong-hee hadn't been there at that time, then you would have been the next target of bullying and the burn marks would have been yours too." After that, Youngjin also comes near Hyejung and warns her softly, "Meeting with friends is fine, but there are some things that should never go out, especially at our high school days." Youngjin thought Hyejung will probably cry out of fear or guilt, but Hyejung gave a completely unexpected reaction. She directly took out her phone and immediately made a post on social media. In that post, she uploaded her photo with Sarah and Youngjin and started showing in the caption, "Look how close friends we are," as if she wanted to prove to the world that everything between them is perfectly normal. On the other side, Yeonnam was standing in front of Dong-hee. She looks at her and says, "I want to support you. I want to become a part of your revenge plan." But she also kept a condition. Yeonnam asks Dong-hee softly, "I will help you, but will you also help me with one thing?" Dong-hee asks, being a bit surprised, "With what thing?" Then Yeonnam replies in straight words, "I want to finish my husband." Hearing this, Dong-hee gets shocked for a moment. She doesn't understand why any woman would say such an extreme thing. But slowly the truth starts coming to light. It is discovered Yeonnam has been a victim of domestic abuse for years. There were often marks of beating on her body, and her husband tortured not only her, but also her young daughter. Life had become like hell for both mother and daughter. When Dong-hee sees their condition, her heart melts. And then she decides, "I will help Yeonnam." Dong-hee gives her some photos and documents. "I have secretly collected these over the past few times." Then she says, "You just keep an eye on Youngjin and Jae-jun." And at this very moment, Dong-hee's revenge group is officially formed. Now she was not alone. Yeonnam starts following Youngjin and her group quietly every day. One day, she finds out an interesting thing. She sees Youngjin is taking her daughter, Yesol, to an eye hospital. Seeing this, Dong-hee suddenly remembers the old school days. At that time, a boy had made fun of Jae-jun because Jae-jun was colorblind. After that mockery, Jae-jun got so angry that he beat that boy terribly. The situation became so serious that the boy almost died. If Ma Young-oh hadn't intervened, then perhaps a murder would have happened there. On the other side, Do-young was also busy in his life. He often used to go to the Go Club so that he could improve his game and skills. One day, when he is playing Go there, then his attention goes to a voice coming from nearby. He sees a woman is playing Go. Not only her skill, but her confidence and playing style were also quite impressive. Being curious, Do-young goes and stands near the crowd, and then he finds out the player is Dong-hee. Dong-hee says to her opponent in a calm tone, "Now, no way is left for you. If you don't surrender now, then you will lose 10 territories." The opponent looks at the board carefully, and then Dong-hee's strategy is understood. But by then, it is too late. Within just a few moves, Dong-hee wins the match. Seeing her Go skills and calculation, Do-young's interest in her starts increasing. Even after returning home, Do-young keeps thinking about that match. He recreates Dong-hee's moves on the board and notices a strange thing. Dong-hee could have won the match right from the beginning, but she intentionally dragged the game long. This thing seems quite mysterious to Do-young. Just then, Youngjin, seeing him so absorbed in thought, asks, "Who was it?" Do-young replies casually, "It was just a player in the Go Club." Then he looks at Youngjin and asks, "Are you okay?" Youngjin says in a slightly tired voice, "I will rest for a while. Then I will go to the office." Then she says while taunting a bit, "I don't understand why you like Go so much." Do-young says with a light smile, Exactly in the same way. As you like smoking, even though you know it's not good for health." Youngjin immediately replies, You didn't like cigarettes at all, then why did you marry a smoker? Do-young says without thinking, because you are not just beautiful, your personality is also quite interesting. Hearing this, a sense of satisfaction comes on Youngjin's face. On the other side, Donghae leaves the Go Club and gets back to her routine life. Today, she is going by train to teach Hyunam's daughter, but an unexpected encounter with Yojong happens on the train. Yojong, seeing her, gets confused for a moment. He feels, perhaps I have seen someone else. Then he asks, did you give the exam? Donghae replies directly, yes. Hearing this, Yojong smiles and says, congratulations. Donghae also politely says, thank you, even after meeting after a long time. Both keep talking casually for a while. While talking, Donghae finds out Yojong was doing military service for the past few years, when both start going their separate ways. Then Yojong gives his business card to Donghae. He says, if ever needed, do contact me. Upon reaching home, Donghae is checking her mail. Just then, her landlady looks at her and asks, you had taken this room on rent so early. Then why did you leave it empty for so many months? Donghae gives a simple answer. I haven't got a school teacher's job yet, so I'm trying. The envelope in her hand was actually a message from Hyun-nam. She had called Donghae to meet. Hyun-nam had been secretly keeping an eye on Youngjin and her group, and one day she gets a very big secret. She finds out the chairman of the school board is in a secret relationship with his driver. As proof, Hyun-nam even records their suspicious conversation. Later, she edits that audio and makes it clearer. When Donghae hears all this, then she suddenly remembers an old thing. Some time ago, she had found a medicine box and a torn will document in a trash can. Now, all the pieces start connecting slowly. Donghae immediately understands the chairman wants to secretly share his property with the driver, and this secret could become a perfect weapon for her. After a little while, Donghae directly reaches to meet the chairman. She says in a completely calm tone, sir, if this matter gets out, and then perhaps your reputation could suffer a lot of damage. The chairman immediately understands Donghae is indirectly blackmailing me, and Donghae places a direct demand. Just do one thing. Make me a teacher in Seong City Elementary School. Finally, the chairman becomes helpless. And in this way, Donghae officially becomes a teacher. And not just a teacher, Youngjin's daughter, Yesol's homeroom teacher. Meanwhile, another event is going on. Today, Youngjin has come back to her old school because she was being given the Excellent Student Award. Everyone is celebrating her success. Just then, from the crowd, Donghae slowly starts moving towards them. Everyone had long forgotten her name, but the people who had once made her life hell, today those same people were standing as successful and respectable individuals, and Donghae was looking at all of them with a calm gaze. Donghae was feeling it was very unfair from within. When Youngjin moves forward to take the award on the stage, then suddenly the sound of loud clapping echoes in the hall. Donghae stands up and claps loudly and shouts, "Wow, Youngjin! What a thing! You are truly amazing." Her voice was so clearly sarcastic that everyone standing there immediately starts looking towards her. The members of the bullying gang also start glaring at her in shock. As soon as the ceremony ends, Youngjin directly comes to Donghae in anger, and without thinking, slaps her hard. Then she asks in anger, "What are you doing here? What is your intention?" Donghae remains completely calm. She says softly, "I still remember what your high school dream was, to get a prestigious job and marry a talented man." Then she says with a slight smile, "It seems you have achieved both things." Donghae looks at everyone and says, "By the way, your friendship is also amazing, from high school until today." Jaejun says with a laugh, "Your life in high school was quite boring, but it seems your life has become a bit interesting now." Donghae also replies in a sarcastic tone, "Yes, now life has become quite interesting." Then she looks directly into Youngjin's eyes and says, "I will keep an eye on all of you." And then she turns to Jaejun and says, "By the way, perhaps you wouldn't even know what an interesting life actually is." Saying this much, Donghae walks away from there. On the other side, the bullying gang is left standing there between anger and confusion. They had no idea at all, think that a big storm was about to come into their lives. After the reunion, Youngjin immediately orders someone to investigate Donghae, but she doesn't even know that the person I have sent for investigation is already working on Donghae's side. Meanwhile, a call comes from Youngjin's daughter, Yesol. She says in excitement, "Mom, our old homeroom teacher has left the job. Now a new teacher has come. She's very kind, and it seems she is your friend too." Youngjin asks, being a bit confused, "Which teacher?" Yesol immediately replies, "Her name is Donghae." Hearing this name, Youngjin's face turns completely pale. Immediately, fear settles in her mind, lest Donghae vents her anger on my daughter. She panics and reaches the school immediately. Upon meeting Donghae in school, she says in anger, "It seems I have fallen into your trap." Then she says while taunting, "I thought your life would be ruined. you would live a life like a beggar and end up in a low-class life by marrying some other beggar. Dong-hee replies in a calm voice, "It's true. My path was very difficult." Then she looks directly into Youngjin's eyes and says, "But if bad people don't even get punished, then how could I die so soon?" Even after meeting Dong-hee in school, Youngjin acts completely calm from the outside, as if it doesn't matter to her at all, but from within, she is clearly in tension. Just then, a message arrives in the class group. It is written in the message, "Their high school homeroom teacher has died." Seeing this, Youngjin's mind immediately goes towards Dong-hee. Because Dong-hee's reaction was so calm that Youngjin immediately understands. Perhaps this too could be a part of Dong-hee's revenge plan. This is a matter from a few days ago. Dong-hee, carrying a bouquet of fresh flowers, reaches her old homeroom teacher's house. The door opens. The teacher, being a bit surprised upon seeing her, asks, "Yeah, who are you?" Dong-hee smiles slightly and says politely, "Sir, I am an old student of yours." Then she tells her name softly, "Dong-hee?" The teacher's face becomes a bit confused. He asks again, "Which Dong-hee?" Then Dong-hee reminds him, "The girl who gave the withdrawal application in 2004, that same Dong-hee." Hearing this name, the teacher's face suddenly becomes stunned. He immediately remembers all the old things. Meanwhile, another boy arrives there. He is Dong-hee's college senior. And then it is found out he is actually the homeroom teacher's son. Dong-hee dramas being surprised, but in reality she knew all this beforehand. For this reason, she had intentionally approached that senior. Dong-hee casually tells him, "Now I myself have also become a school teacher." Hearing this, the teacher becomes even more uncomfortable. The same old incident starts spinning in his mind when he had hit Dong-hee in anger. The teacher starts feeling Dong-hee has come here to take revenge, but Dong-hee just gives the bouquet in his hand with a calm smile. Just then his son quickly says, "Give the flowers to me. Dad has asthma and he has a problem with pollen, especially with the trumpet lily." Dong-hee just stands there silently. She knows this senior has recently passed the civil service exam and now only his final interview is left. The teacher suddenly starts feeling afraid. He feels Dong-hee is planning to ruin my son's future. In this tension and anger, he starts shouting at Dong-hee and starts scolding her. But this time, Dong-hee was not going to remain silent. She tells the straight truth. She tells, "I was brutally bullied in school and teachers never took my complaint seriously." Hearing all this, the teacher's son falls into shock. He had worked hard for years for the civil service exam, and he didn't want, "Because of my father's past, my future gets ruined." Therefore, he creates a fake pollen allergy incident. And after a little while, the teacher dies. The irony was, always, his death happened at the hands of his own son. When Youngjin understands this entire thing, then clear fear starts appearing on her face. Now she wasn't understanding at all what Dong-hee's next step would be. Dong-hee gives her a warning in a cold and direct tone. "Don't even think of transferring your daughter Yesol to another school, nor try to change her homeroom teacher." Then she looks into her eyes and says, "Whatever is happening, all this is the result of your own actions." After Dong-hee leaves, Youngjin, while remembering everything, goes into a panic. She becomes almost crazy in anger and fear. But the worst thing was, now I can't do anything, because Dong-hee's revenge plan was now slowly coming in its real form. On the other side, Dong-hee also accelerated her revenge speed. First of all, she went to meet the nurse who had helped her during high school. The nurse becomes a bit emotional upon seeing her. Then she tells Dong-hee an old thing. "There was a girl before you two, whom Youngjin's group tortured a lot." Hearing this, Dong-hee remained silent for a few moments. At that time, she was small and couldn't help anyone. But now Dong-hee had turned 36 years old, and now she was fully ready to take her revenge. The nurse, looking into her eyes, says just one thing: whether you are 18-year-old Dong-hee or 36-year-old, but this time, you must win. Hearing this, tears come to Dong-hee's eyes, because perhaps she was the only person in her life who was truly supporting her. After that, Dong-hee directly reaches to meet Myung-oh. She had gotten the complete list of Sarah's drug use, and along with it, information about Hye-jung was also found, how she wanted to settle her life by marrying into some rich family. Then Dong-hee gives a small paper to Myung-oh. "Go to this address. There you can get a lot of money." Myung-oh gets interested upon hearing about money. He immediately reaches the hospital at that address, but what he finds out there is quite shocking. This was the same place where the body of that bullied girl, So-hee, had been kept for so many years. Her family was fully convinced her death was not normal. Therefore, they hadn't even gotten her cremation done. Dong-hee's plan looked something else from the outside. She was saying to Myung-oh, "Go. Ask for money from the murderer. You will become rich." But in reality, Dong-hee wanted Myung-oh himself gets trapped in this game and dies. Poor Myung-oh was still not understanding anything. To know the truth, he comes to Dong-hae again. He thinks for a bit and says, look, the murderer is neither of us two, meaning it must be one of those 4 bullies. Then he makes a guess. Maybe Sarah did it because she takes drugs. Or Youngjin. She is the most cruel. Myung-oh looks at Dong-hae again and says, we both are on the same side. So tell me, among those 4 who killed So-hee, Dong-hee pauses for a bit and says, the murderer is one among them. But Myung-oh's plan was also not that simple. He had also secretly bought a one-way ticket abroad. Then he called all the bullies one by one for a private meeting. One of those calls also went to Youngjin's husband, Do-young. But after that, suddenly no one could contact Myung-oh. On the other side, another tension was going on. Since Dong-hae became Youngjin's daughter, Yesol's homeroom teacher, since then, Youngjin has been living in fear every day. She felt, lest Dong-hee also does the same torture to my daughter, which Youngjin once did to Dong-hae, with a curling iron. Yesol gets quite confused by her mother's strange behavior. She asks directly, Mom, why does anyone put something hot on someone's body? Is this not very cruel? Hearing this, Youngjin's face becomes completely serious. For her daughter's safety, she immediately goes to meet the school principal. While talking to the principal, she finds out the school board chairman is behind making Dong-hae a teacher, and Dong-hae's background is also perfectly clean. Youngjin comes out of the principal's office and goes straight towards Yesol's class. But as soon as she peeks inside the class, her gaze falls on a scene. Dong-hae was standing very quietly behind Yesol, and there was a slight smile on her face, as if she was intentionally provoking Youngjin. Inside the class, Dong-hae intentionally makes a dangerous move. She stands right behind Yesol holding scissors in her hand. Standing outside the door when Youngjin sees this scene, her heart literally starts beating fast. She feels, lest Dong-hae hurts my daughter. Because of this very fear, Youngjin decides, I will end the matter of the past by giving money. She goes to Dong-hae and says straight away, just write down the amount, whatever money you want. After that, you disappear from my life forever. I will agree to your every condition. Dong-hae looks at her while being a bit calm and asks, do you really have no guilt for what you did? Youngjin immediately replies, aren't you doing all this for money? Then she says in a slightly sarcastic tone, we both are almost 40. Be a little realistic. Let the past remain in the past. What else do you want now? Hearing this, Dong-hae understands Youngjin doesn't have even a bit of regret. Therefore, Dong-hae tells her straight away, I haven't come to forgive you. I want the law to punish you. Then Dong-hae drops another bomb. She says calmly, by the way, your daughter Yesol can't differentiate between red and blue colors, right? Hearing this, Youngjin's face freezes completely because this was her years-old secret, which no one knew. Dong-hae looks into her eyes again and says softly, I want you to start hating life. Hate every day. Hate every breath. Now Youngjin understands. Money is not the solution to this problem. Therefore, she starts trying to convince her husband Do-young, let's send Yesol abroad to study. Do-young gets confused after hearing her words. He says, such a big decision suddenly? At least tell me a proper reason first. But Youngjin couldn't tell the truth, so she just ends the talk by making some excuse. On the other side, another thing was going on in Do-young's mind. Since he saw Dong-hae playing chess, since then he used to come to the club almost every day, just to see if maybe he meets Dong-hae today. But as usual, he would return disappointed. This time also, he is just about to leave, when suddenly his gaze falls on Dong-hae. Today, finally his wish is fulfilled. Both sit in front of each other and start playing chess. And the interesting thing was that all this was part of Dong-hae's plan. During the game, Do-young asks her, being curious, what do you actually do? Dong-hae replies with a completely straight face. My job is to deceive innocent men and make them cry. Hearing this answer, Do-young starts laughing. Then he asks in jest, oh, so you must be earning a lot of money? Dong-hae says casually, not much, because I am a good person at heart. Hearing her strange answers, Do-young becomes even more curious. After a little while, Dong-hae wins the game and gets up to leave. Then Do-young says, shall we play one more game? And in this way, without understanding, he goes deeper into Dong-hae's trap. After the game, Dong-hae goes to a convenience store to have dinner. After a little while, Do-young also reaches there, and then the conversation starts. Do-young says with a smile, normally I stay very quiet, but I don't know what has happened to me today. While leaving, he gives his business card to Dong-hae and says, I hope we can play chess again in the future. But Dong-hae politely rejects that offer, so that Do-young's curiosity increases even more. But both of them didn't know that someone else was quietly capturing their meeting in photos. On the other side, another plan was going on. Hyun-nam swapped Hye-jung's phone secretly upon getting a chance. Now Dong-hae had Hye-jung's phone, from which he gets a lot of shocking information. In that phone, there were photos of Hye-jung with many different men. And along with it, another important thing is discovered. I am going to get married soon. In reality, Hye-jung was the girl with the lowest status in the bullies group. Therefore, to increase her greed and status, she was looking for only one way, marriage with some very rich man. And the man who was in front of her, he was not only very rich, but was also his mother's most pampered son. But the problem was, that man's mother didn't like Hye-jung at all. Before finalizing the marriage, that rich man's mother had gotten a full background check of Hye-jung done. Not only this, she even asked Hye-jung undergo a physical examination. Hye-jung understood, if I have to marry into this rich family, then I will have to show my image as completely perfect. Therefore, she was acting as a very noble and simple girl in front of that woman. Just then, that woman says, upon seeing someone, Teacher Dong-hae, today you are looking even more beautiful. Hearing this, Hye-jung gets shocked. She immediately turns around, and Dong-hae is standing in front of her. Dong-hae also pretends to be surprised upon seeing her. Hye-jung, you? Hye-jung immediately understands why Dong-hae has come here. If Dong-hae tells the truth, then my dream of marrying into a rich family will end right there. Therefore, Hye-jung immediately sits on her knees and starts begging Dong-hae. Please, Dong-hae, forgive me. What happened in high school? I didn't want to do that. She says while crying. At that time, we were immature. People make mistakes while growing up. But Dong-hae asks her in a slightly cold tone, mistake or a task done intentionally? While saying this, Dong-hae takes out a red, hot wooden stick from her bag and brings it in front of her. Seeing this, Hye-jung starts backing away out of fear. She shouts in anger. Are you crazy? Hye-jung says, being panicked. I have already left my job, but don't ruin my life. Dong-hae says in a calm voice. The fear you are feeling now. I live with that fear every day. Hye-jung says while crying again. Please forgive me once. Don't tell anything to my future mother-in-law. She says, almost broken. Just let my marriage happen. Then I will go away from your life forever. Then she tells one more thing. I have already left my job. If this marriage breaks, then I will have no source of income left. But Dong-hae's heart doesn't melt even a bit. Then Dong-hae takes out her phone and says, by the way, your lost phone is with me. Then she says while smiling a bit, I have already read its main content. Now only one option was left for Hye-jung. Dong-hae says, now you will have to come to my side and give me all that information which I want. Meanwhile, Dong-hae also reaches to meet Sarah. Sarah used to use drugs, and Dong-hae used this very weakness against her. Dong-hae gives her a bag and says, within half a month, fill this bag with dollar bills. Sarah asks in anger, are you threatening me? Dong-hae looks into her eyes and says, has no one ever threatened you? Between the argument, Dong-hae suddenly grabs Sarah's hair and pulls hard, taking out a thick hair bundle. Then she says in a cold tone, relax. I haven't even started threatening yet. On the other side, Yo-jong's life was also going quite strangely. He had to listen to the sound of effervescent tablets dissolving every day to sleep at night. As if without that sound, my mind doesn't become calm at all. One night, his phone rings. His colleague picks it up and keeps the phone near him. As soon as Yo-jong checks the message, he immediately sits up in shock. Because the person sending the message was none other than Dong-hae, he literally shouts, this phone is really mine, right? He doesn't believe it, because he had sent messages to Dong-hae for 7 years, but never got even a single reply. Actually, Yo-jong had taught Dong-hae how to play Go, a game like chess, for 5 years. After that also, he used to send messages to her sometimes, but Dong-hae never replied. Today, Dong-hae was watching some old men playing Go in a park. Then she remembered old memories. She read one of Yo-jong's old messages again, in which he was asking about her health. Therefore, Dong-hae finally replied to him. In the reply, she made an excuse. I had to ask something about the medicine you used to take. Just upon getting this message, Yo-jong went crazy with happiness. He immediately calls Dong-hae and says, let's meet. Let's talk face to face. That night, both meet there, near that big tree which was their meeting place for the past 7 years. While talking, Yo-jong finds out Dong-hae has now become a teacher in Seong City Elementary School. Just then, his gaze falls on a medicine box. He immediately becomes jealous, because that medicine was actually a men's fertility medicine. Yo-jong asks in a slightly jealous tone, is this for some other man? Dong-hae immediately denies, no, there's nothing like that. But the truth was this. Yo-jong understood from within. Perhaps Dong-hae is just making an excuse, so that she can distance herself from me. Dong-hae directly told Yo-jong, don't send me messages in the future. Yo-jong doesn't understand at all why Dong-hae is saying this. Still, he says while remaining calm, whatever you want to do it, but remember one thing, you will also have to date me. I can keep you happy. Hearing this confession, Dong-hae remains silent for a few moments. She feels the happiness of that moment is completely fake. Only one thing was going on in her mind, revenge. Dong-hae says softly, I don't want love. I just want someone who can walk with me. The truth was that Dong-hae had feelings for Yo-jong in her heart, but the courage to truly love someone was not left in her. Yo-jong cannot fully understand her words, but still says, whatever decision you take, I will support you. After that, Yo-jong reaches the hospital to meet his mother. His mother was the dean of the hospital there. Yo-jong says straight away, I don't want to become a professor. I am going to resign. His mother gets surprised. Yojong says again, I want to open my own hospital in Seong City because the girl I like lives there. The mother asks with a slight smile, meaning you have fallen in love? Yojong says with a light smile. It's not that serious yet. Then he asks a strange thing. Mom, have you ever seen people who live a very introverted and dark life? His mother gets confused by his words. She says, you are not going to earn money, nor to help doctors in any needy area. You are going only for love, right? Then she jokingly asks one more question. By the way, you are still a strong man, right? On the other side, Yongjin tries every possible way to get Donghee out of the school, but not even one of her tricks works. Finally, she goes to a temple with her mother and starts praying. Somehow Donghee's revenge stops. Yongjin's mother says in anger, we should complain about that girl to the Ministry of Education. But Yongjin immediately denies it, because she was afraid if an investigation happened, then Yesol would find out. My mother used to bully in school. Her mother then says, in anger, I had already warned you, but you never listened to me. Even in the office, Yongjin's stress doesn't decrease. She remains in tension all the time and keeps checking the company form again and again, lest any post has come against me. One day, she finds out, my colleagues are making fun of me. They were saying, Yongjin doesn't even know how to write a news script. She has become a host only because her husband has given a huge advertising deal to the channel. Hearing this, Yongjin directly reaches them. She starts asking such questions that all the colleagues get irritated. But at the end of the debate, Yongjin dominates completely. Then she gives them a warning. If you people don't stop gossiping, then I will tell all your bad things to the director. Hearing this, all the colleagues fall silent. That same night, Yongjin has dinner with a police chief. She wanted, the police should find Donghee quickly. But the chief says, the case is a bit complicated. It will take some time. The real reason was something else. The police chief just wanted to take more money. Therefore, he secretly put some thugs after Donghee. But Donghee soon found out, someone is following me. She immediately drives her car at speed so that they keep following her. Then, Donghee intentionally stops the car at a traffic intersection. As soon as the thug's car comes near her, she comes directly in front. The problem was that their car was rented. If a police case is formed, then our identities can be easily traced. Therefore, they were forced to do a private settlement. When they left from there, then Donghee took a deep breath. She was looking calm from the outside, but from within she was still quite afraid. As soon as Hyunam found out, some people were following Donghee. She immediately reached her running. Are you okay? She asks in tension. But Donghee becomes a bit suspicious. Then Hyunam explains quickly, I was not following you. I just saw someone else is following you. Therefore, I also came here following them. Truly, Hyunam had only one simple dream, just to have a normal dinner with her daughter. Donghee also understands. I made a mistake by doubting her. She immediately says, sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you. Then Donghee promises, I will help in fulfilling that small wish of Hyun-nam. But along with it, she makes one thing clear. We are just partners, and we both together are just executing a revenge plan. After that, Donghee goes to an auto repair shop. There, the sound of meat being grilled on the grill is heard, and upon hearing that sound, Donghee remembers that moment of high school when burn marks were given on her body with a curling iron. As soon as she remembers the flashback, her mind becomes completely disturbed. Without paying attention, she drops her phone under the table, and she doesn't even realize it. The effect of that old burn injury was so strong that her body literally went into panic mode. Donghee is looking here and there. Then she accidentally drops some things kept on the table too. At that moment, when people start helping her, then she starts feeling even more helpless. After a little while, Donghee reaches the place to meet Yojong. Yojong, upon seeing her, understands. Something has gone wrong. Her clothes were full of black oil stains and her face was also full of panic. He asks quietly, what happened to you? But Donghee still tries to distance herself from him. She finally tells him the truth about her high school bullying. Then she says straight away, I have dedicated my entire life to revenge. I only have to win. Losing is not allowed. Yeo-jong keeps listening to her for a while. Then he asks softly, did you ever think, end the revenge right here? He says further, your life is more important than those bullies. And after revenge, your life will perhaps become completely empty. Hearing this, Donghee feels Yeo-jong has never seen a struggle in life. Then Yeo-jong's gaze falls on Donghee's hand. There were small and big burn marks on her arms. He literally goes into shock. Donghee says in a bit of a bitter tone, are you scared just by seeing my arm? Do you still want to help me? Saying this, Donghee slowly walks onto the light and takes off her coat. At that moment, crisscross burn scars are clearly seen on Dong-hee's body. Seeing that scene, his heart breaks. He doesn't even believe there can be such cruel people in this world. Dong-hee says softly, "My dignity, everything is finished. Therefore, you go back. I must take my revenge." But at that moment, Yo-jong says an unexpected thing. "I agree." Dong-hee gets confused. Then Yo-jong says calmly, "I will become your companion." Then he takes off his coat and puts it on Dong-hee's shoulders. He says, "Next time if you are in any trouble, then call me." Yo-jong says, "I too have experienced the feeling of despair and anger in life. Therefore, I understand how painful it is." Then he asks one more question. "When I taught you go, then whom did you want to win against?" Dong-hee replies without thinking, "Against Yongjin's husband," because Dong-hee's revenge plan was simple. She wanted everyone should go away from Yongjin's life. No friends, no parents, no daughter, no husband. In the end, no one should be left with Yongjin, and she should not get anyone's love either. Dong-hee's revenge plan was so dark that she herself started looking like a terrifying person. But there was one more shocking thing. Yo-jong, who always looked gentle and calm, was also hiding a dark secret from within. His life was quite happy since childhood. His father was a hospital director. And one day, because of his medical ethics, Yo-jong's kind father decided, "I will operate on a prisoner." The operation was successful, but what happened after that, it changed everyone's life. As soon as the surgery was finished, the prisoner suddenly picked up a surgical knife and attacked Yo-jong's father. Within just a few seconds, he killed him. This incident was such a shock for Yo-jong that he could never accept it. After that day, deep hatred and resentment filled within him. There was only one thing that gave him a little peace, playing Go with Dong-hee. But his suffering didn't end here. That prisoner used to send letters to Yo-jong every month. And the most shocking thing was, in those letters, he did not regret his crime, but told in detail, "This is how I killed Yo-jong's father." One day, Yo-jong's colleague gave that letter to his mother. Upon reading the letter, Yo-jong's mother's blood boils. In that letter, the prisoner had written in full detail how he killed Yo-jong's father. And he was even boasting about that matter. Only then Yo-jong's mother finds out, "My son has been enduring the torture of these letters for so many years." To be honest, the hatred in Yo-jong's heart was no less than Dong-hee's. He also often used to imagine, "One day I will take revenge on that prisoner." After knowing the truth, Yo-jong's mother directly reaches the prison to meet that murderer. Initially, the prisoner shows fake remorse. As soon as he understands, everything true has come out, he stops his drama. Then he says straight away, "All three people of your family are doctors. Doctors always have noble beliefs." Then he says in a cold voice, "Therefore, your husband's death happened because of his own reason." Hearing this, Yo-jong's mother's anger explodes. She shouts loudly, "Hey, you are a dirty person, a bastard." Meanwhile, another shocking twist comes. Jae-jun suddenly finds a children's toothbrush and he is told, "Get a DNA test done for this." Jae-jun doesn't understand what is going on, but he gets the test done. After the report comes, he goes into shock because he finds out, "I have a daughter." And that daughter is none other than Yongjin's daughter, Yesol. Knowing this, Jae-jun gets very excited and immediately reaches Yesol's school. At that time, Yesol is waiting for the traffic light to cross the road, but she is unable to properly identify the color of the traffic light. Seeing this, Jae-jun gets more confirmation. Yesol is truly my daughter. He is about to go to her in happiness. But hearing the loud sound of car horns at the school gate, Jae-jun suddenly gets angry and starts abusing loudly. Seeing his aggressive behavior, Yesol gets scared. And after that, Jae-jun directly goes to a lawyer. He asks, "Can I take custody of Yesol?" But the lawyer tells him a hard truth. Even if the DNA test proves Yesol is your biological daughter, even then, legally her father will be considered Do-young, because Yesol was born during the legal marriage of Yongjin and Do-young. The lawyer says clearly, "Unless Yongjin and Do-young divorce, the court will not give you custody." Hearing this, Jae-jun's anger flares up again. He directly reaches Yongjin, and in anger, he grabs her and asks, "Why did you make my daughter someone else's daughter?" In anger, Jae-jun grabs her neck and forces her to tell the truth. He shouts, "Did you find out after pregnancy the child is mine? Or did you know beforehand? And still you continued that fake marriage?" He says in anger, "Did you leave me that easily?" Before Yongjin could say anything, Jae-jun kisses her. And surprisingly, Yongjin also gives a response to that kiss. At that moment, it was difficult to understand. Does Yongjin truly love Do-young or Jae-jun? On the other side, Do-young is playing soccer with his daughter Yesol. During the game, he notices a strange thing. Yesol identifies the color of her friend's shirt wrong, but Do-young doesn't take that matter very seriously. Then, Yesol says casually, "Next week there is an extracurricular activity in school. You must come." Hearing this, Do-young remembers one thing. Yongjin had once said, "I don't like Yesol's current homeroom teacher." When Yesol hears this thing, she asks, being curious, "Why doesn't mom like my teacher? Weren't they high school classmates? Then why would they have hatred for each other?" Next day, Do-young goes to his daughter Yesol's school because an extracurricular activity is going on in her class. Everything was looking normal, but as soon as Do-young turns and looks towards the classroom gate, Jae-jun is standing there. Seeing this, Do-young gets completely confused. Do-young asks, being a bit surprised, "What are you doing here?" Jae-jun says with a slight smile, "Just an illegitimate child of mine also studies in this class." While saying this, he is looking at Do-young with a strange and meaningful gaze. His tone is so strange that Do-young immediately starts feeling uneasy. The atmosphere becomes a bit awkward, so to normalize the situation, Jae-jun quickly turns the talk. "Actually, I had come here to meet an old friend." Just then, the homeroom teacher enters the classroom, and Do-young goes into shock because the teacher is none other than Dong-hae, the same Dong-hae who often plays Go with him. Do-young immediately understands if Jae-jun finds anything unusual, then there can be a problem. Therefore, he quickly changes the topic and asks Jae-jun, "By the way, how is your relation with Yongjin going now?" After the activity ends, Do-young starts going home with his daughter Yesol, but Jae-jun is staring at Yesol again and again. Seeing this, Do-young starts feeling even more uncomfortable. Then Jae-jun says softly, "Strange thing, Yesol doesn't look like you at all." After that, he says some such provoking words that directly challenge Do-young. Do-young's anger increases and he starts leaving from there without saying anything more. But before leaving, Jae-jun asks one more question. "By the way, did you meet Myung-oh or not?" Do-young gives a bit of a cold answer. Now there's no need to find him. Everything will become clear today. Actually, Do-young had received an anonymous letter a few days ago. Inside that letter was a photo, in which he and Dong-hae were seen together. Do-young feels Myung-oh must have sent this photo, but no contact was being made with Myung-oh. Therefore, to know the truth, Do-young decided, "I will talk directly to Jae-jun." During this, Do-young notices one more strange thing. The tobacco which Jae-jun uses, it is exactly the same which Yongjin uses. Not just tobacco, the style of using it, movements and gestures are also exactly the same. Seeing this, the suspicion in Do-young's mind regarding Yongjin becomes deeper. After returning home, Do-young goes straight to his study room. There he finds Yongjin's high school photos. Now his doubts become even stronger. When Yongjin returns home, Do-young immediately asks her, "Why do you meet Jae-jun and Myung-oh so many times?" Yongjin, acting completely calm, says, "I only go to Jae-jun's store to try on clothes. And as for Myung-oh, I haven't been in contact with him for a long time." Then she turns and asks Do-young himself, "Is Myung-oh threatening you?" Hearing this, Do-young feels something strange. He says, "Strange thing? Whenever I ask about Myung-oh, you people ask only one question. Is Myung-oh threatening me?" Yongjin immediately feels Do-young has understood something or the other. Panicking, she immediately checks the car's GPS records and finds out Do-young has gone to meet Jae-jun. Knowing this, Yongjin truly gets very scared. A little while later, when she is bathing Yesol, then she finds out another shocking thing. In today's school activity, not just Do-young, Jae-jun was also present there. Now only one question was running in Yongjin's mind. For how much longer will I be able to hide my secret? On the other side, as soon as the parent-teacher meeting ends, Jae-jun goes directly to Dong-hae and threatens her. "Stay away from Yongjin's daughter, otherwise you will have to regret a lot." But Dong-hae is not afraid at all. She replies in a calm voice, "If you want custody of Yongjin's daughter, then you will have to stand on my side." Then Dong-hae shows him a photo. Upon seeing the photo, Jae-jun's face falls. Because it is clear in that photo, Yesol has inherited color blindness just like him. Seeing this, Jae-jun understands Yesol is indeed my daughter. Dong-hae leaves from there, but goes straight to the bathroom and starts washing her hands again and again. She tries to clean the old burn marks on her arm by rubbing them. These marks remind her of the painful memories of her past. Until now, everyone thought only Yongjin was behind the violence against Dong-hae. But the truth is that Jae-jun was also one of those people who tortured her in school. For this reason, Jae-jun is also included in Dong-hae's revenge list. To move her revenge plan forward, Dong-hae now goes to meet Sarah. Sarah brings a bag full of dollars and throws it in front of Dong-hae in anger. Sarah says, "Take this money and end everything." She feels, by giving money, I can erase all my sins. But Dong-hae looks at her with a cold gaze and says, "Do you think everything ends with money?" Dong-hee says softly to Sarah, "You know, when you die, you will go straight to heaven, because as long as you are alive, this world has become hell." Hearing this, Sarah sits up in extreme anger. She immediately grabs Dong-hee's collar and asks, "What do you want to say?" But Dong-hee remains completely calm and says in a cold voice, "Leave my hand. Otherwise, everyone will find out about your drug use." Sarah's anger increases even more, but she is forced to leave Dong-hee, and Dong-hee leaves from there. Actually, there was a different reason for Dong-hee asking for money from Sarah. That money was needed to send Hyun-nam's daughter abroad so that Hyun-nam can take her revenge without any tension. Therefore, Dong-hee directly goes to meet Hyun-nam and says to her, "Now the plan will have to be fast. The day your daughter goes abroad, on that same day, everything will begin." Then Dong-hee explains to her, "For a little while, both of you will surely have to endure the pain of separation, but only by this will your daughter remain safe." She also says, this way her daughter will also stay away from her violent father, and only then will Hyun-nam be able to take her revenge with full focus. Dong-hee just wants Hyun-nam should think seriously about this suggestion. On the other side, Do-young also started finding everything suspicious now. After meeting Dong-hee in the parent-teacher meeting, he started feeling, our meeting cannot be just a coincidence. To know the truth, Do-young decides, I will meet Yongjin's best friend, Hye-jung. But Do-young doesn't know Hye-jung is already in contact with Dong-hee, and because of her personal weakness, she has been working on Dong-hee's side for quite some time. When Do-young meets her, he asks a straight question, what exactly was the relation between Yongjin and Dong-hee? Hye-jung tells, they were not just school friends. Yongjin used to bully Dong-hee for quite a long time. Do-young asks, being shocked, meaning school violence? Hye-jung replies straight away, yes. Then she starts telling Do-young, Yongjin did all these things to Dong-hee in high school. Hearing all this, Do-young doesn't even believe it. He doesn't understand at all. Yongjin kept such big things hidden from me for so many years. But Hye-jung doesn't tell the full story. She says in a bit of a mysterious tone, the story is very sensational. If you want to know the truth, then go home and ask Yongjin herself. Hearing this, Do-young suddenly remembers one thing Dong-hee said. Dong-hee had told him, I am gambling with my life, and I must win. Then Do-young finally understands, what is Dong-hee's real plan? She actually wants to take revenge on Yongjin. But now, the biggest problem for Do-young was, how should I face Yongjin? Therefore, he goes alone and sits in the park. There his gaze falls on Yo-jong, who is playing chess, go game, with some old people. Yo-jong, to escape from those people, immediately says to Do-young, please make some reason. I have to escape from these people. Then both sit together and start playing chess. But Do-young's mind is somewhere else. He keeps checking his phone again and again. Then Dong-hee asks casually, do you live nearby here? Yo-jong says, I have moved here just recently. Then he says a strange thing. I have actually come here to take revenge for a friend of mine. Hearing this, Do-young laughs a bit. He says, taking revenge in Korea is not that easy. Guns are not allowed here. To this, Yo-jong immediately replies, if not a gun, there is a knife. Then he says while being a bit serious, with a gun you can shoot from far, but to use a knife you have to go very close to your enemy. And then he says softly, so close that you start seeing your own reflection in their eyes. Only after that, one should attack. Hearing this word of Yo-jong, the atmosphere becomes completely dark and intense. After returning home, Do-young directly asks Yongjin, do you know Dong-hee? Hearing this question, Yongjin starts looking at his face and tone carefully. She immediately feels Do-young has found out something or the other. But instead of panicking, Yongjin makes the situation emotional. She says softly, we have been in marriage for 10 years, and we also have a lovely daughter, Ye-sol. Then she looks into Do-young's eyes and says, will you really leave me by trusting someone else's words? Yongjin says further, there is no one in this world who hasn't ever made a mistake. Therefore, if you have to choose, then don't choose an ordinary person. Choose an outstanding wife like me. Then she says one more strange thing. It is better if some things are not known. Only then you, I, and Ye-sol, all three will not be hurt. But from within, Yongjin was not calm at all. She secretly got full information about Dong-hee from the police chief. In the investigation, it was found out Dong-hee's background was not particularly bad. But Yongjin found one thing, Dong-hee's mother, who was very greedy. And at this time, she was living a very miserable life. Knowing this, a plan immediately comes to Yongjin's mind. She thinks the easiest way to break Dong-hee can be her mother. From the police chief itself, Yongjin also gets Dong-hee's address. But when she sees the location, she gets a shock. Because Dong-hee's house is on the street right in front of her house. Meaning for so long Dong-hee could see her every movement. Just thinking this, Yongjin starts feeling very uneasy. Therefore, she immediately calls a locksmith and breaks the lock of Dong-hee's house and enters inside. But as soon as she enters inside, she gets scared seeing the scene in front of her. Photos are pasted on all the walls of the house, and these photos are of no one else, but of all those people who bullied Dong-hae in school. Youngjin and her friends were also included among them. Seeing all this, a dark thought comes to Youngjin's mind. She thinks softly, I shouldn't have bullied Dong-hae at that time. Then her expression becomes even colder. I should have finished her straight away. At this same time, on the other side, Do-young has also met Dong-hae. He had found out by now. Dong-hae was the victim. But still, seeing the 10-year marriage and family, Do-young still wanted to give Youngjin a chance. Then Dong-hae tells him the truth. She says, I intentionally came to you. The photo you got, that too was sent by me. Hearing this, Do-young understands. If Dong-hae is planning revenge, then she must be living somewhere near my house. On the other side, Youngjin is still standing in Dong-hae's house staring at the photos. And at that very moment, Do-young also reaches there. As soon as husband and wife meet at the same place, it becomes impossible to hide all of Youngjin's secrets. Do-young notices the lock of the door has been broken, and Youngjin is standing inside the house without taking off her shoes. Seeing this scene, whatever feelings were in Do-young's heart, they end in a moment. He starts feeling, I don't even know this woman. Youngjin says in a bit of anger, anyone can come here, but not you. Then she asks Do-young directly, do you not love me anymore? Both of them don't know. Dong-hae is listening to their entire conversation standing in the next room. Do-young then asks Youngjin, tell me the truth. Have you ever tortured anyone? Or have you forced anyone to die with your words? Youngjin immediately denies everything. She says, I can never do such a thing. Then she starts making herself the victim. Youngjin says, just mine and Dong-hae's relation was never good, but I never bullied her. After a little while, Youngjin leaves from there, and only Dong-hae is left in the house. She slowly starts looking at the photos pasted on the wall. In those photos, her entire past, her pain, and her revenge list are hidden. Do-young's gaze falls on a photo pasted on the wall. In that photo, Jae-jun and Ye-sol are standing together. As soon as he sees this photo, all previous things start flashing in Do-young's mind. Jae-jun's strange behavior, his staring at Ye-sol, and his strange hints. Now, Do-young starts feeling, perhaps I have ignored something very big. Meanwhile, his secretary tells him Ma-young-oh left some voice messages before disappearing. The secretary had saved all those recordings in a USB. Do-young starts listening to that same recording while driving the car. When he finds out, Youngjin has cheated on me, then his anger goes out of control. He returns straight home. When he goes into the dressing room after coming home, there are blue shopping bags bought from expensive stores and designer clothes, neatly arranged. Seeing all this, Do-young becomes even more furious. At that moment, his emotions finally explode. Next day, Do-young directly reaches Jae-jun's store. His goal was simple, to confirm his doubt. He quietly goes inside the fitting room, and there he finds the same shopping bags exactly as they were lying in his house. In the room, not just clothes, a sofa and many expensive red wine bottles are also kept. Seeing all this, Do-young suddenly remembers Youngjin's words. Then he understands a horrifying truth. Youngjin was not just having an affair. Ye-sol was also Jae-jun's daughter. At this moment, Do-young realizes, I was living in deception for a full 10 years. On the other side, Ma-young-oh had found out Youngjin has killed So-hee. Now he wanted to blackmail Youngjin using this secret. Therefore, Ma-young-oh started calling all the people of the bullying group, among whom Dong-hae was also included. But Dong-hae already knew Ma-young-oh will betray sooner or later. Therefore, she was not afraid at all. Ma-young-oh always believed, I am not at fault in So-hee's death. But Dong-hae says to him straight away, you are not innocent. Even if you die, maybe that will be better for you. Hearing this, Ma-young-oh understands, the secret of So-hee's death is not enough to scare the bullies. The important thing is, Youngjin herself should accept her crime. For this reason, Ma-young-oh decides, I will have a private meeting with Youngjin. But after that meeting, Ma-young-oh disappears without any trace. After a little while, Hye-jung goes to the police station and writes a missing report from Ma-young-oh. All this is actually part of Dong-hae's plan. The person who panics first is Sarah. Because if the police investigate, then my drug problem can also come forward. Youngjin also gets very scared. She immediately calls all the members of the bullying group to meet. In the meeting, everyone tells, Ma-young-oh called us one by one before disappearing. And he also mentioned So-hee's death. Now everyone becomes suspicious. They ask Youngjin directly, tell the truth, did you kill So-hee? Hearing this question, Youngjin remembers the high school rooftop incident. On that day, So-hee's clothes had gotten burnt, and she had come to Youngjin for help. But instead of saving her, Youngjin just gave her a light push, and So-hee fell straight down from the rooftop. Remembering that moment, Youngjin starts laughing like a crazy person. Then she says while abusing her own friends, "You people are mentally sick." On the other side, while doing the police investigation, it reaches even Jae-jun. The police ask him, "Do you know anything about Myung-oh's death?" Jae-jun says calmly, I don't know anything. But then he tells one more thing. Before Myung-oh's death, some man was searching for him again and again. The police ask, "Who?" Jae-jun immediately replies, Do-young, CEO of Jae-young Construction Group. He tells the police, Do-young also gave me his business card. And at that time, something very suspicious was looking in Do-young's eyes. Meanwhile, Dong-hee also reaches to meet Young-jin. She takes out all the proofs of high school bullying from her bag and keeps them on the table. Actually, Dong-hee's plan was something else before. She wanted to give Young-jin one last chance. Dong-hee says, "Today, I have come to give you one last chance. I have to give this chance because of Do-young's politeness." Then she says calmly, "If you go to the police station and confess or apologize to the victim, then I will end my revenge plan right here." But Young-jin immediately denies it. She says, "If I go to the police station, then this news will become a headline in the entire media." And then she says in a cold voice, "After that, my entire life will be ruined." Young-jin still didn't have even a bit of regret. In her view, she hadn't done any wrong work. She glares at Dong-hae and says, "Dong-hee's fate was like this. She was to live a painful life since birth. I have no role in this." Young-jin had become so arrogant that she even starts saying, "To be honest, if I hadn't done all that with you in school, then today you wouldn't even have been able to become a teacher." Hearing this, Dong-hee finally understands Young-jin has no realization of her mistake at all. At this moment, the guilt within Dong-hee also ends. She says calmly, "By the way, I had given the evidence of So-hee's murder to the police quite a long time ago. That evidence was Young-jin's name tag, which So-hee had torn and taken out from Young-jin's shirt before dying." But unexpectedly, when Young-jin's mother found out about this, she used her connections and got that name tag out from the police. Now Dong-hae was left with no direct proof of So-hee's murder. The name tag which Dong-hae showed to Young-jin, it was actually fake just to trap her. The real evidence will have to be found by the police themselves. And the most shocking thing was Young-jin's mother had not destroyed that original name tag. It was still with her. But what her intention was, no one knows. On the other side, Dong-hae gave So-hee's case investigation report to a nurse. This report was actually taken out by So-hee's mother because she never believed my daughter ended her own life. She still kept asking people for help in the hospital. During this, one day, she met Dong-hae, and she gave that investigation report to Dong-hae. There was a shocking truth in the report. Yo-jung told, at that time, So-hee was pregnant. When Dong-hae finds out this truth, she tells the nurse too. So-hee was pregnant. Dong-hee then promises So-hee's mother, "I will surely take revenge for So-hee." And because of this promise, Dong-hae was running her revenge plan for so many years. Since Young-jin found Dong-hae's house, since then, Dong-hae was temporarily living in Yo-jong's house. One day when Dong-hae comes to her room, she starts packing all the photos pasted on the wall. These were photos of all those people whom she had kept in her revenge list. But after packing, she suddenly realizes one photo is missing. Dong-hae immediately drops all the photos on the floor and checks carefully. Then she remembers the missing photo was of Hyeon-nam's husband. Upon understanding this, Dong-hae immediately calls Hyeon-nam. She gives her a warning, "Keep an eye on Young-jin and something is about to happen." And exactly what Dong-hae thought happened. That missing photo is now in Young-jin's hands. One day, Young-jin stands outside the car and says to Hyeon-nam, "Stop the drama. Come out of the car." Then Young-jin directly starts threatening Hyeon-nam's daughter. She says, "If you help me and help in finishing Dong-hae, then I will even get you rid of your husband." Not only this, Young-jin promises, "After the work is done, I will give a lot of money to you too." Hyeon-nam says yes out of compulsion, but actually she was still on Dong-hae's side. Later, Hyeon-nam tells everything to Dong-hae. She says, "From today, I will act as if I am working for Young-jin." Then she requests Dong-hae, "Take care of my daughter." After thinking for a bit, Dong-hae decides Hyeon-nam's daughter will stay at the teacher's house for a few days. Dong-hae says to her strictly, "Don't contact anyone." And along with it, she promises, "I will soon complete your papers for studying abroad." But meanwhile, Young-jin makes another move. She directly goes to meet Dong-hae's mother. Young-jin says to her, "Your daughter is now a teacher in the city's elementary school. She gets a government salary." Then she places a bag full of money in front of her. Young-jin says, "If you get Dong-hae to resign from the job, then all this money is yours." And once again, Dong-hae was going to be hurt because of her own mother. Next day, when Dong-hae is taking class in school, then her mother comes there and creates a ruckus. She starts shouting loudly, "Where is my daughter?" Seeing her drama, everyone in the school gathers there. When Dong-hae sees her mother, then clear fear is seen in her eyes. At night, her mother again comes to Dong-hae's room and starts making a scene. Then Dong-hae understands all this is Youngjin's plan. For her next step, Dong-hae makes a plan. She tells Hyejung, ask Youngjin to meet at Yeojung's plastic surgery clinic. When both meet, Hyejung starts talking casually. She says, Dong-hae is actually Do-young's Go Club friend. Both often play Go together. Hearing this, Youngjin's expression changes. She did not expect at all that Do-young and Dong-hae have become so close. Hyejung then intentionally starts provoking her. She says, Do-young has found out about your high school story. Then she shows her limited edition Hermes handbag and says, this bag was actually given to me by Do-young so that I could tell him your and Dong-hae's story. But then she says while smiling, but because of our friendship, I didn't do so. And then she says another shocking line. By the way, to tell the truth, I have already told everything to Do-young a long time ago. Hearing this, Youngjin's anger goes out of control. Upon reaching home, Youngjin directly confronts Do-young. She asks in anger, I have so many friends then. Why did you talk only to Hyejung? Do-young also immediately replies, then whom should I ask? Sarah is drowned in drugs. Jae-jun is a dangerous and manipulative person. Myung-oh is missing. And then he says in a sarcastic tone, and your mother is blowing her money on some shaman. Now tell me, whom else should I ask? Youngjin then asks one more question, meaning you are now taking Dong-hae's side? This time, Do-young's patience ends. He says in anger, I was always only on Yesol's side. Then he warns in a serious tone, if you hurt me and my daughter anymore, then I won't need to say anything. Just wait. But even after hearing all this, Youngjin doesn't have even a bit of regret. On the other side, Do-young is sitting in the office, looking at his and Dong-hae's photo. He still had to find out about Myung-oh. Therefore, he calls Dong-hae to meet at a restaurant in Seoul. When Dong-hae comes there and takes off her coat, then Do-young goes into shock. There are many burn scars on her arms and hands. People sitting in the restaurant also look at her with strange gazes. But Dong-hae had become used to all this now. Do-young is shaken from within after seeing those scars. He doesn't even believe someone in the world can be so cruel. He wanted to ask many questions to Dong-hae, but now he had understood why Dong-hae is so determined for revenge. Then Dong-hae makes a request to him. She says, I want you to divorce Youngjin. Do-young asks, being surprised, why? Dong-hae replies calmly, my revenge is that no one should be left with Youngjin. Then she says one more line, you are an honor for Youngjin. I want you to become a disgrace for her. But Do-young doesn't agree to her words immediately. He says, for now, I will not divorce Youngjin because I myself am also unable to understand what I should do. On the other side, Youngjin makes a new plan to get Do-young's love back. She reaches Yeojung's hospital to get cosmetic surgery done, but she doesn't know. She has come directly into Yeojung's trap. When the surgery starts, Yeojung gives her an anesthesia injection. After a little while, Youngjin becomes unconscious. Then Yeojung asks her softly, what did you do with Myung-oh? Hearing this question, Youngjin gets shocked. Then it is revealed. The last person to meet Myung-oh was Youngjin. Myung-oh had said to her, I know you killed Sohee. And then he had said one more thing. The proof of this is in my pocket. On that day when Youngjin confronted Myung-oh, she panics and starts taking out evidence from his pocket. But when she checks the pocket, then only a condom comes out from inside. Myung-oh says with a laugh, now I am even more convinced. You are the one who killed Sohee. Then he makes a direct demand, give me 1 billion won, otherwise I will expose everything. And if the money is not given, then he hints, payment by other means can also work. Hearing these insulting words, Youngjin's anger explodes. She picks up the wine bottle kept on the table and hits Myung-oh directly on the head. Myung-oh falls on the floor. But when Youngjin sees that he is still alive, then she again picks up the bottle and hits him on the head repeatedly until Myung-oh becomes unconscious. Only then Youngjin stops. After that, Youngjin starts destroying all evidence immediately. She also calls Jae-jun and tells him to dispose of Myung-oh's body. Youngjin tells him, Myung-oh had scratched my leg in the struggle. There might be evidence in his nails. Jae-jun then destroys all such proofs which could go against Youngjin. But another plan was going on in his mind. He doesn't secretly destroy Myung-oh's body. He hides it in a funeral home so that in the future he can blackmail Youngjin. Suddenly, Youngjin wakes up from the dream. She gets so scared that she immediately demands to check the hospital's CCTV footage. She is afraid, lest my crime has been recorded. Then she runs home like a crazy person and checks her body carefully, lest Myung-oh's blood has got on my clothes. She is still very scared of that incident. Next day, Youngjin herself tries to patch up with Do-young, but Do-young's behavior is still very cold. Youngjin is unable to understand, why does Do-young play chess with Dong-hae again and again? Then Do-young tells the truth. He says, when I met Dong-hae for for the first time, I became curious about her. Then, for some time, Dong-hee disappeared. And from that day, I started waiting for her to come in front again. When they met again, then I wanted to play chess with her. But I lost the initiative, and because of this very reason, I got confused, Young-jin says in anger, meaning an affair is going on in your mind. Do-young says in a calm tone, because of this very reason, I asked you about your relationship with Jae-jun. Then Young-jin understands why Do-young is so angry. Meanwhile, one day, Hye-jung suddenly remembers Myung-oh had an iPad, and the messages of that iPad were synchronized with his phone. When Hye-jung checks the iPad, then she finds a recording which proves Young-jin killed Myung-oh. She immediately sends that recording to Jae-jun. Jae-jun then remembers the CCTV footage of his store. But the strange thing was, on the day Myung-oh disappeared, the archive file of that day was missing. Now, Jae-jun becomes almost sure Young-jin is behind Myung-oh's death. And if this is proved, then I can take custody of Ye-sol. Therefore, Jae-jun makes a new plan. He asks Hye-jung, "Will you marry me? Then we both together will raise Ye-sol." Hye-jung's dream was to marry a rich man. Therefore, she immediately says yes. On the other side, Young-jin is making another move. She goes to Hyun-nam's house. Hyun-nam tells her a doctor is also helping in Dong-hee's revenge plan. Hearing this, Young-jin understands. That doctor is none other than Yo-jong. She orders Hyun-nam, keep an eye on all bullies and give me a report of every movement. As a punishment, Young-jin does not give money to Hyun-nam's husband that day. Therefore, that man returns home earlier than usual that day, and then, as usual, he starts beating Hyun-nam terribly. Meanwhile, he finds out his daughter is not at home. Hearing this, he becomes even more violent and starts beating Hyun-nam even more mercilessly. But being a mother, no matter how much pain Hyun-nam endured, she did not reveal her daughter's location, because by then, her daughter had already boarded the plane to America. And finally, she went far away from her abusive father forever. Later, when Hyun-nam is following Jae-jun, then she notices Jae-jun is going to a suspicious funeral home again and again. To know the truth, she and Dong-hee reach there. They find out that place has been abandoned for a long time. But one thing was strange. The electricity usage of that building was very high. Dong-hee shared her suspicion with Yo-jong. Both had a strong doubt. Myung-oh's dead body must have been hidden somewhere there. Next day, Dong-hae and Yo-jong directly reached the funeral home. Upon checking there, their doubt turned out to be true. Myung-oh's body is found inside, but Dong-hae does not inform the police immediately. She thinks, if I report now, then the entire revenge plan can be ruined. Therefore, for safety, Yo-jong buys the entire funeral home. And he also takes the security guards there on his side, so that no one can disturb their plan. Dong-hae then says to Yo-jong, the body has been found, but we still don't have any solid proof which can prove in court Myung-oh's killer is Young-jin. Then Yo-jong tells a secret. When Young-jin had come for plastic surgery to my hospital, then after the surgery when she was under the effect of anesthesia, I secretly collected a DNA sample from her wound. If this DNA matches the human tissue found in Myung-oh's fingernails, then the killer's name will be officially exposed. On the other side, another dirty scene was going on in the school. The school gym teacher used to make an excuse of taking photos of students, but in reality, he was secretly clicking perverted photos. When Dong-hae finds out about this, she immediately sends the students to class and thinks, today I must teach this disgusting man a lesson. Dong-hae gets evidence of secret photos from another teacher, and then she sends all those photos directly to Jae-jun. As soon as Jae-jun sees the photos, his blood boils, because Ye-sol is also seen in those photos. In anger, Jae-jun immediately reaches the school. First, he removes all evidence from the camera, and then without thinking, he beats the gym teacher brutally. Ye-sol sees this entire scene. She gets so scared that she directly goes to the police station and tells everything to Do-young. The case reaches the police. But Jae-jun refuses to compromise. He says clearly, this disgusting man must go to jail. Then Do-young's lawyer takes out a settlement agreement so that the matter is solved quietly. Do-young then asks Jae-jun, what right do you have to file a case against the teacher? Then Jae-jun gives a straight answer, because Ye-sol is my biological daughter. Hearing this, Do-young's anger increases even more. He says while taunting, you turned out to be even more disgusting than my thoughts. Arguments increase so much that both start fighting each other. But in this fight, Jae-jun doesn't get the upper hand, and in the end, his nose gets broken. To protect Ye-sol, Do-young temporarily sends her to her grandmother's house. When Young-jin finds out all this after coming home, then she goes crazy with anger. She shouts at Do-young, "You must give me a proper explanation for this." Do-young is also already angry from within. He says, "Jae-jun went to school and was pretending in front of everyone that he is Ye-sol's real father. Therefore, I got angry." Then Do-young directly asks Young-jin, "Tell me the truth. Do you yourself even know what you are doing?" At that moment, Do-young's patience is completely finished and he tells the whole truth. He says, "You never cared about Ye-sol's feelings. You just kept trying to save your own safety and reputation." Do-young also says, Young-jin is still asking him, "Do you know Jae-jun is Ye-sol's real father?" But Young-jin still starts making excuses. She says, "I have always tried to save this marriage." But Do-young replies immediately, "The truth is that you were doing all this just to hide your past." And on this very matter, the relationship between the two starts breaking even more. Do-young says straight to Young-jin in anger, "Ye-sol is my daughter, and even if we divorce tomorrow, even then this truth will not change." But on the other side, another problem comes in Dong-hae's life, her own mother. Dong-hee's mother again starts doing clever things. First of all, she contacts Yeo-jong and requests to meet him, as if she were his future mother-in-law. But Yeo-jong has understood her intention, therefore he doesn't give her any importance at all. When this trick fails, then Dong-hee's mother makes another dirty plan. She contacts the parents of Dong-hee's student school and, using Dong-hee's name, she demands expensive gifts from them. Parents think all this is happening from Dong-hee's side, therefore they send gifts without thinking. Later, when the truth is found out, then everyone reaches directly to Dong-hae in anger and says, "Whatever gifts you have taken, return them right now." Dong-hee gets completely shocked. She doesn't even understand how all this happened. Out of compulsion, she starts searching for luxury items thrown in the trash so that she can return them. It is raining heavily outside, and Dong-hee's anger is now out of control. She directly reaches her mother and asks while shouting, "Why did you ruin my life again? How can you cause me harm by joining hands with others? Once you left me, now why did you betray me again?" Saying this much, Dong-hae picks up scissors and in anger cuts her mother's most precious things. Seeing this, her mother becomes even more furious. In anger, she hits Dong-hae hard. Dong-hee's face gets injured and blood starts flowing from her face. At that moment, Dong-hee doesn't even believe, "My own mother can be so cruel with me." But in this very moment, Dong-hee's revenge becomes even stronger. Next day, Dong-hee uses her connections and makes a plan to meet Sarah. Somehow she arranges Sarah's favorite drugs. When Sarah sees those drugs, she is unable to stop herself. Meanwhile, Dong-hee sends a message to all the people of the church. A special performance is going to happen in the church today. Hearing this, everyone reaches the church in curiosity. On the other side, after taking drugs, Sarah starts hallucinating. Her behavior becomes completely out of control. She starts making strange and indecent gestures in front of the public. When people see that the real face of the famous artist Sarah is so disgusting, then everyone immediately takes out their phones and starts recording photos and videos. Meanwhile, upon getting Hyeon-nam's notification, Young-jin also reaches the church. Young-jin immediately understands that all this is Dong-hee's plan. But she says to Dong-hae in a confident tone, "Relax. Sarah has just gotten trapped in drugs for the first time. She will soon come out of this situation." Young-jin feels Dong-hee can never defeat all of them. But Young-jin doesn't even know Dong-hee has already made another big move. A friend of Dong-hae's had posted evidence of weather reporter Young-jin's school bullying on social media, and then what? The drug scandal and school bullying topic starts trending instantly on the internet, and everyone starts talking about it. Then Dong-hee says to Young-jin in a cold tone, "Maybe Sarah will escape soon, but you?" Dong-hee looks into her eyes and says, "You have killed someone, and not once, twice." Young-jin asks Dong-hae in anger, "Do you have any proof, or are you just talking in the air?" Dong-hee remains completely calm and replies straight away, "Proof? I have everything." She also has that indecent video of Sarah in the church and the evidence of weather reporter Young-jin's school bullying. In a little while, these two things become a viral topic on the internet. People just start talking about this scandal in their free time. Then Hyeon-nam also makes a public comment post in which she clearly writes, "The weather reporter is actually Young-jin." As soon as this thing is confirmed, a shower of negative comments starts on the internet. The situation deteriorates so much that Young-jin has to run away from there. On the other side, the company's stock also starts getting affected. Therefore, Do-young himself goes to meet Young-jin. He says in a serious tone, "There is still time. If we handle the situation together, then maybe we can cross this problem." But the lawyer immediately takes out a document. It is the evidence of the school bullying posted online. He asks Young-jin directly, "The girl in this photo and video, is she you?" Jin still sticks to her stubbornness. She refuses to accept anything. She feels now no more proof is left, therefore there is no need to tell the truth. Seeing this, Do-young becomes completely disappointed. He understands Jin has no regret for her mistake so far. At this same time, on the other side, Jae-jun and Hye-jung are sitting together and talking. Between the talks, Hye-jung takes out a secret recording. In that recording, there is a confession-type evidence of Jin's murder. Hearing this, Jae-jun suddenly remembers an expensive wine bottle was also missing from his dressing room that day. Then he understands that the bottle can also be important evidence of the murder. On the other side, Yeon-nam gives another shock to Jin. She tells her Hye-jung and Jae-jun are now in a relationship. Hearing this, Jin doesn't believe it. To know the truth, she directly reaches Jae-jun's house. There she meets Hye-jung. Hye-jung says very casually, "Yes, Jae-jun and I are dating now. And this relationship started yesterday." Jin congratulates her with a fake smile. Then she asks a direct question. "Why did you take me to Yeojung's plastic surgery hospital? And did you know that Yeojung is the son of the Seoul hospital director?" Jin then asks one more question. "Since when have you been on Dong-hee's side?" But now the situation has changed. Now Hye-jung has gotten Jae-jun's support. Therefore, she is not afraid of Jin at all. This time, she refuses to bow before Jin's arrogant attitude. Later, Hyeon-nam goes to meet Sarah in the police station. But actually, her purpose is something else. She wants to create distance between Sarah and Jin. Hyeon-nam says to Sarah, "The scandal of Jin's school bullying has come out, but all that got buried under your drug scandal news. And today in the newspaper, an accusation of tax evasion through an art exhibition has also been published against you." Hearing all this, a doubt is born in Sarah's mind. After coming out of the police station, Sarah starts asking her mother about her old father. Meanwhile, another shocking video goes viral on the internet. In that video, it is seen Jin is torturing her classmate So-hee, just because So-hee had worn a uniform exactly like Jin's in high school. Jin says to So-hee in anger, "Take off these clothes right now." All this is happening inside the spa, and Sarah secretly records this entire scene. But Jin's anger doesn't stop here. She slaps So-hee many times. Poor So-hee is so weak that she is not even able to resist. As soon as this video comes on the internet, a flood of comments arrives. When Do-young sees all this, then he remains completely shocked. He doesn't even believe, "My wife can actually be such a person." To know the truth, he goes to Dong-hae and asks about Jin. Dong-hae gives him So-hee's mother's address without hiding anything and says, "Go and see the truth for yourself." Then Do-young asks a serious question to Dong-hae. "If you want to give the most pain to Jin, then hurting Yesol will be the fastest way." But Dong-hae immediately denies it. She says in a calm voice, "I will never do such a thing, because if Yesol is hurt, then you will also feel the same pain." And Dong-hae doesn't want to make anyone else a victim of that revenge. One day, Do-young asks Dong-hae a straight question. "You made such a big revenge plan. Now tell me the truth. Are you happy?" Dong-hae remains silent for a few seconds, then says softly, "I just want so much happiness in my life that I can die in peace. Just that much happiness will be enough." After this, Do-young himself starts doing an investigation. While investigating, he finds out So-hee's dead body is kept in a hospital in Seoul. And the most shocking thing is that the hospital belongs to Yeojung, the same Yeojung who often used to play chess with him. On the other side, Dong-hae opens a drawer in her house one day and gets surprised seeing the scene inside. Countless surgical instruments are kept in the drawer. Along with it, there are also some letters which were sent from the prison. Upon reading those letters, Dong-hae finds out Yeojung is living with a deep pain every day. Truly, Yeojung also thought exactly like Dong-hae. He also wants that those who are bad people should get their right punishment. Yeojung's story was also equally tragic. He originally wanted to work as a doctor in prison, therefore he gave his documents to the seniors working there. But there, he met the same murderer who had killed his father. This time, that prisoner finally tells the truth. He says, "At that time my arm was broken and I was in unbearable pain, but because I was a murderer, no doctor was ready to operate on me. Only one person stood by his doctor's ideals, Yeojung's father. He decided, I will perform the operation. But just before the surgery, he remembered, I promised dinner to my son Yeojung." He was worried lest Yeojung eat instant noodles, which are not good for health. But the prisoner took this matter as his own insult, and as soon as the surgery was finished, he killed Yeojung's father with a knife. The prisoner then says with a calm face, "I just wanted to see what that doctor's son looks like," as if he had said some normal thing. Hearing this truth, Yeojung breaks down completely. He doesn't understand at all how to punish such a cruel person. But even after returning home, he behaves normally. He makes dinner with Dong-hae in the usual way, as if nothing happened. He doesn't want Dong-hae to notice his pain. but Dong-hee understands everything, and she comforts Yo-jung by hugging him quietly. Dong-hee wanted to take revenge, but she never wanted to cross one line or hurting Ye-sol. Therefore, because of her mother's scandal, Dong-hee also has to leave the school job. Before leaving school, she meets Ye-sol and says softly, "If you ever want, then before dying, I will also apologize to you." After returning home, Dong-hee decides, "I will throw my mother out of the house." But her mother starts behaving completely like a crazy person. She starts blaming Dong-hee and keeps insulting her. Matters increase so much that her mother tries to kill Dong-hee with scissors. Just then, the sound of meat burning on the grill comes from the kitchen. Her mother knows that after the incident in high school, Dong-hee is very afraid of fire. She makes fun of her. Seeing this, Dong-hee gets even angrier. Between the argument, Dong-hee's mother overturns the grill. The hot fire falls straight on the newspaper lying on the floor, and within a few seconds, the whole house catches fire. Her mother shouts in madness, "Today, I will die with you." She tells Dong-hee, "Accept your mistake and apologize to me." But at that moment, Dong-hee starts smiling. She says, "Thank you, Mom." Her mother gets shocked. Dong-hee says calmly, "Thank you, because you didn't change at all. And I needed proof of this very thing." Then it is revealed that all this was part of Dong-hee's plan. Finally, doctors examine Dong-hee's mother and declare she is mentally unstable. Dong-hee finally takes her mother herself to a mental hospital. After taking her to the room, she says softly in her mother's ear, "I could only do this much. Now you will have to suffer your punishment yourself." And her mother's punishment is that now she will have to spend her entire life in this mental hospital. On the other side, Young-jin has gotten trapped in the school violence scandal. Seeing this, Jae-jun thinks, now some big benefit can be taken by blackmailing her. Therefore, he uses the secret of Myung-oh's dead body to threaten her. Jae-jun says straight away, "If you want to hide the truth, then buy me a house in Hawaii." Young-jin is just about to reply when suddenly the news of police finding Myung-oh's body arrives. Hearing this, both get shocked. Both quickly reach there to confirm the body, but when they reach there, the body is missing. Just then, Hee-jung's call comes. She says calmly, "Myung-oh is dead, and I also have the recording of your murder." Hearing this, Young-jin's head spins. In shock, a small thing falls from her bag. And that very thing was going to become the biggest reason for her ruin later. Later, Young-jin finds out from Jae-jun the place where Myung-oh's body was found was the same place where So-hee fell and died. Jae-jun tells her, "The recording is in Hye-jung's phone, and the wine bottle which went missing from my dressing room, there might be your fingerprints on it too." The situation has become dangerous. Then Young-jin uses Ye-sol's name and asks Jae-jun for help. She says in an emotional tone, "I want an alibi, proof that I was not at the crime scene." And surprisingly, Jae-jun again becomes ready to help her. Jae-jun then goes to Do-young. He makes Do-young listen to the recording of Myung-oh's murder, and along with it, also puts pressure for Ye-sol's custody. His demand is simple: give evidence to save Young-jin that she was not at the crime scene. In this way, Do-young and Jae-jun come close to becoming accomplices in the same crime. Do-young becomes completely confused after hearing all this. He doesn't understand at all what is right and what is wrong. Meanwhile, Sarah reaches directly to Young-jin's house. She asks in anger, "You used my drug scandal to hide your bad news, right?" Then Sarah asks one more question. "Tell the truth. Did you give my tax evasion secret to the reporter?" Young-jin is just about to reply when suddenly she feels that something is missing from her bag. Then she remembers that maybe that thing fell while seeing Myung-oh's body. Therefore, at night, Young-jin secretly reaches the funeral home so that she can find that missing item. It is dark and she is searching quietly. Just then, suddenly Yo-jung appears there. Young-jin immediately makes an excuse. "I was just looking for the restroom." But Yo-jung doesn't believe her words. He says calmly, "I saw you a little while ago. You were clearly looking for something." Then Yo-jung opens his hand, and the same missing item is in his hand. He says while giving it to Young-jin, "Here, this is yours. Anyway, I don't need any more evidence now." Young-jin gets even more scared after hearing his words. Just then, a message from her mother arrives on her phone. In the message, it is written, "Come and pick me up from the police station." Actually, what happened was that Hyeon-nam intentionally told her alcoholic husband, "Young-jin has killed someone." That man was already blackmailing Young-jin's family. To extract money, he used to harass Young-jin's mother by calling her again and again. One day, he even directly goes to their house and starts threatening. Young-jin's mother first asks Jae-jun for help, but Jae-jun refuses her straight away. Being forced, Young-jin's mother makes a risky plan. She secretly sends a message to that man and fixes a cash deal in the evening. That man, being excited by the greed of money, leaves immediately, but he has no idea that this is going to be the last ride of his life. To escape punishment, Young-jin's mother takes Jae-jun along too. And then, both together create a fake traffic accident in which Yeon-nam's husband dies right there. In this way, the situation becomes even more dangerous, and everyone is slowly getting trapped in the web of a big crime. In the dark night, Youngjin's mother and Jae-jun reach the police station in a state of panic. But the police chief is with them there, therefore other officers do not ask many questions. The case is declared just a simple traffic accident. After this, Jae-jun decides it is better to stay away from this dangerous group now. He thinks he will take the money and run away somewhere far. But his subordinates also find out about this matter. They also start asking for a share in the money. Jae-jun uses his power and identity to suppress them. But one subordinate is unable to bear such humiliation. In anger, he takes out a weapon and attacks Jae-jun. On the other side, Hyun-nam comes to the police station to take her husband's body. As soon as she sees the body, her heart breaks. But in some corner of her heart, there is also a strange relief. She feels, now perhaps peace will finally come in my life. When Youngjin finds out the dead man is Hyun-nam's husband, then she immediately understands. This was not a simple accident. Her mother had intentionally killed someone. Meanwhile, another strange scene happens. A man suddenly starts talking in So-hee's voice, as if the spirit of So-hee has influenced him. He asks Youngjin again and again, "Do you remember who I am?" Hearing this, Youngjin's face turns pale. At that moment, the dark incident of high school becomes a flashback in her mind. On that day, Youngjin had scared So-hee by showing a lighter. She forces her to take off her clothes, but suddenly fire caught So-hee's clothes. Out of fear, So-hee asks Youngjin for help, but instead of helping her, Youngjin gives her a push, and So-hee falls from the roof and dies. At that time, So-hee's age was only 18 years. And the most shocking thing? Dong-hee had seen all this with her own eyes. On that day, Dong-hee also got Youngjin's name tag and lighter at the crime scene. Coming back to the present, Youngjin's panic increases further. Just then, another shocking scene happens. The man who was behaving like So-hee suddenly falls and dies. There is no clear reason either. Seeing all this, Youngjin gets completely scared and immediately runs away from there. This scene also reminds Dong-hee of So-hee's tragic death. Later, Youngjin goes to meet Hyun-nam. She angrily accuses, "Dong-hee and Hyun-nam together got my husband killed and trapped my mother in this crime too." Youngjin doesn't stop just at this. She also threatens Hyun-nam's daughter. But now Hyun-nam is no longer the fearful woman as before. She gives a hard slap to Youngjin, and Do-young sees all this. Do-young now finally gives two choices to Youngjin. Either apologize to the victim's family and give compensation, or our divorce will happen. But even after so much happening, Youngjin doesn't accept the truth. She still keeps denying So-hee's murder. Therefore, Do-young finally takes the decision and officially announces the divorce. At that moment, he completely abandons Youngjin. On the other side, Ye-sol also finds out the truth in school. She finds out, "My mother had tortured someone with a curling iron." Ye-sol gets scared that now her friends won't play with her, and slowly school parents and classmates start ignoring her. But Do-young still considers Ye-sol as his own daughter. He comes to school and consoles Ye-sol. When Do-young opens his arms, Ye-sol hugs him while crying and says sorry. Do-young says softly, "Whatever happened, you are not at fault in it." To escape from negative rumors, Do-young decides, "I will go abroad taking Ye-sol with me." Meanwhile, all the bullies also come to Myung-oh's funeral. And there, Hye-jung shows a shocking video to everyone. In the video, Sarah is seen taking drugs. Seeing this, Sarah feels, "Youngjin has done all this to take revenge on me?" Suddenly, from Hye-jung's words, Sarah understands, "I have blamed the wrong person." In anger, Sarah immediately takes out the pen stuck in her hair and attacks Hye-jung's neck directly. Everyone gets shocked. Fortunately, at that very time, the police reach there, and by intervening on time, they stop the murder from happening. The police again arrest Sarah. A little while later, Jae-jun goes to meet Yo-jong. He asks about So-hee's autopsy report. From this report, Yo-jong finds out a shocking truth. So-hee was pregnant at that time, and that baby was Jae-jun's. Dong-hee also gets shocked after hearing this thing. Until now, she thought, the baby was Myung-oh's, and for this very reason, she was going to leave Jae-jun before. But now Dong-hee realizes how cruel and evil this whole bully group was from within. Hye-jung's life was saved, but because of the attack, her voice is permanently damaged. Now she is unable to speak normally. When Jae-jun sees her face and condition, he immediately announces a breakup. Hye-jung's dream was to marry into a rich family, but now that dream of hers also breaks completely. Seeing all this, Dong-hee decides, "I will help Hye-jung." She makes a dangerous plan. The plan was simple. Mix a special medicine in Jae-jun's eye drops. Hye-jung reaches Jae-jun's house with all the items according to Dong-hee's plan. When Jae-jun is not paying attention, then she secretly replaces his original eye drops. Later, Jae-jun goes to school to meet his daughter Ye-sol. But there he finds out Ye-sol's school transfer has taken place. He calls Do-young in panic, but Do-young intentionally switches off the phone. In anger and tension, Jae-jun is driving the car when suddenly the road starts appearing blurry to him. The eye drops medicine starts showing its effect. He immediately stops the car and starts checking the situation. At this very moment, a big truck comes towards him. An accident is about to happen, but Jae-jun somehow survives. While struggling, he reaches an abandoned factory, but there, an even more dangerous thing happens with him. Someone pushes him from behind. Jae-jun falls straight into a puddle of cement, and the person who pushes him is Do-young. It was necessary for Do-young to do all this, just to protect Ye-sol. After that, Do-young peacefully takes Ye-sol and goes abroad. On the other side, Dong-hee threatens Young-jin's mother. She tells her, if you don't cooperate, then I will expose your traffic murder secret. Dong-hee demands, give Young-jin's name tag and abandon her. For her own safety, Young-jin's mother finally agrees and gives the name tag to Dong-hee. But Young-jin hears their conversation. Young-jin shouts while crying, Mom, how can you leave me? She doesn't even believe. My own mother has abandoned me. Now Young-jin starts living with fear every day. One day, when she sees the wine bottle evidence in the video, then she panics and reaches back to the crime scene. But this time, the police are already waiting there. And in this way, Young-jin is arrested on the charge of intentional murder. Later, Dong-hee goes to meet Young-jin in the detention center. And there, she tells her another shocking truth. Actually, Myung-oh did not die immediately. When Young-jin left him, he was still alive at that time. A staff member was watching everything while hiding there. He checked the situation and saw that Myung-oh is still breathing. But that staff member remembers, in high school, Myung-oh and his gang had bullied him too. In anger, he picks up the wine bottle and hits Myung-oh on the head. After that, Dong-hee convinces that staff member, give a confession. Say the killer was Young-jin. Now when Young-jin finds out the truth, by then, everything is finished. She can't change anything. In the end, every bully gets the punishment for their deeds. And with this series comes to an end.